Matthew 21:1, Jesus went into the temple of God. Corinthians 3:16, do you not know that you are the temple of God? Now, what is this telling you? That God is within you. Hence why in Luke 21:12 it tells you the kingdom of God is within you. And the side of your head region is called a temple for a reason. Because the brain encapsulates the mind. The brain is a physical manifestation of the mind. The heart is a physical manifestation of emotion. So we have these different layers of our consciousness. We have an intellectual, communicative aspect of our consciousness, which we would call the mind. We have an emotional aspect of our consciousness, which is the heart. And to communicate with the divine, it's all to do with the mind. Hence why the ancients always symbolize the mind being God. This is why Michelangelo always placed God inside of the brain on top of Sistine's Chapel in the middle of the Vatican. He understood that God is in the brain. God is within you, not outside of you. The church tells you that God is in the sky because they are creating a externalization of the truth to create a business and a distraction so that you don't find the divinity within you, so that you don't find your power. Now you have Adam, the physical man, the physical body, the ego, the lower self, and he is resting. He's not trying to reach to God, but God is reaching because the higher consciousness within you is always trying to communicate with you. It's always trying to wake you up to your divinity. But the lower mind, the lower self, Adam, the physical self, is always in ignorance of truth, always in ignorance, and stays in a materialistic way of thinking, which is the lower animal self. And this is what we call a sleep or an NPC. This is the lower mind of man. But all you have to do is to move your finger to touch God. You have to look within yourself, within the brain, meditate, and you can find God. This is why in the Bible we see many references to the human body and anatomy to truly connect with God. Kings 6:8, the door to the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, which is the right hemisphere of the brain. The middle chamber is the pineal gland, where the seat of your consciousness is, where the seat of your higher consciousness is, the mind. And they went up the winding stairs, which is your spinal column, into the middle chamber, and out of the middle chamber into the third. So they went up the winding stairs. This represents raising your consciousness up the winding stairs. Your spinal column acts as a stairway of consciousness. Depending on what sort of consciousness you are operating in, depends on what part of the spinal column you are using. Because the spinal column ascends and descends consciousness. What do I mean? If you are in a reproductive way of thinking and you're always thinking about sex, you're jerking off all the time and you're always eating, all of your brain's power and your mind's power is being descended into the lower aspects of the spinal column, which represents hell, the physical state of man, Adam, the ignorant state. We're basically living off low level pleasures like an animal. And the stairway to heaven is your spinal column. They went up the winding stairs into the middle chamber, which is your mind, your pineal gland, and out of the middle into the third stage of consciousness, physical, etheric, astral. When you meditate and you start to raise your consciousness during meditation, you enter the astral plane when you turn off thought. But this is the middle chamber inside of the brain. Here we see another painting inside of Sistine's Chapel of God inside of the brain. This is the brainstem. This is the brain. This is the frontal lobe. This is the back lobe. This is the back lobe. This is the cerebellum. Here's the reptilian brainstem. Here's the claustrum. This is what we are seeing here. Anatomy. Here is another one in Sistine Chapel in the middle of the Vatican. This is depicting the brainstem. God's neck looks exactly like the brainstem. Here we see a real brain compared to God's neck, because the neck is just below the brainstem. And this is what they are symbolizing, because they knew that God is within you. God is a part of the human body. God is inside of the body, because the body is a vessel for consciousness, for universal consciousness. Inside of you, inside of me, is the same spark of consciousness. And this same consciousness is spread out into every living essence, because everything comes from the one source, the one God, the one consciousness. Matthew 6:22, 23. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Practicing the single eye. What is this? This is meditation. This is entering within yourself. So the Bible's telling you to practice the single eye. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. What does this mean? If your consciousness is in an evil way of thinking, if your mind is filled with an evil, negative mind space, then your body shall be filled with darkness, with evil, with negativity. Because negative thoughts destruct the body, positive thoughts heal and regenerate the body. So he tells you to be, the light of the body is the eye, your consciousness, the inner eye of consciousness, the eye that lets you see. And what do I mean? You look with your two physical eyes, but you see with the inner eye. What you see is perception. You look with the two eyes, and what you see is perception. You are seeing, you are understanding, and that's what consciousness, the mind, gives you. Consciousness or the mind is the force that allows you to be a human being, that allows you to understand things and interact with things and make decisions. It's an infinite intelligence. See, the mind is not the brain. This is a big confusion with people. Hence why the eye on top of the pyramid is separate from the bottom half of the pyramid, because the consciousness is separate from the body, the eye, the all-seeing eye. It represents the observer, the eye that sees into this body, into this world, into this. You are the perceiver. You are the invisible spirit within the body. Theologians 4:17. After that, we are still alive, and our left will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. You don't meet the Lord in the physical air. Okay. This symbolism of the ancient Christian artwork is showing you this is symbolic. These things never happened. There's no man in the sky. Moses didn't go on a mountain to meet with God. The air represents the mind. This is why you say you're an airhead when someone's very stupid. Earth is your body. Water is your emotions. Fire is your spirit. Air is your mind, the invisible mind. So Anton Mengs, an ancient Christian art worker, is showing you anatomy of God in the clouds, but this is anatomy of the human body, raising yourself to the mind and turning the mind inwards on itself during meditation. And that's how you meet the Lord in the air. You meet the Lord in an elevated state of consciousness. The air represents an elevated state of consciousness because the air is up. You have to raise your consciousness to meet the Lord in the air. This is why Moses went on a mountain to meet with God. The mountain represents elevation, elevation of consciousness, raising the mind up the spinal column, taking all of the mind's attention away from the reproduction and the physical aspects of self and raising it to the brain and turning off the brain and going inward into the air. It's talking about raising consciousness. It's allegorical. It's a spiritual, metaphorical text. The side of your head's called a temple because inside that where that temple is, right in the middle of where you call the temple, is the inner chamber, the open room, the holies of holies in the Bible, or the land flowing with milk and honey, or Mount Zion. There's so many different names for the brain, or the upper room where Jesus meets his 12 disciples, the 12 cranial nerves in your brain. This is the temple of God. Your body is a temple of consciousness. It encapsulates the consciousness. It encapsulates the mind and soul. John 10:30, Jesus states, I and the Father are one. Psalms 46:10, be still and know that I am God. He's talking about the I am within you, not within Jesus. Everyone refers to ourselves as I. I am God. When you say I, you're referring to the highest aspect of yourself, the aspect that is above all thought, above all emotion, and above all things. When you say I, you're referring to your pure awareness, your pure consciousness, the highest aspect of yourself. And anything after I is egotistical. I is God. The letter I is the Roman numerals for one, because there is one God, one consciousness. The letter I is one line, just like the number one. Matthew 6:3-4, take no thought. Therefore, take no thought. Take no thought. He says this 5 times because you must turn off the 5 senses and take no thought to connect with God. Be still. This is telling you to meditate and know that I am God. The I am within you. I and the Father are one. I and God are one. You, who you think you are, is a completely wrong. The body is matter. Your name isn't you. Your job isn't you. Your reputation, your trauma, your memories, your friends, family, worries, bills, interests, dislikes, goals, passions, anything to do with the thinking mind is not you. Who you think you are is a part of your thinking aspect of consciousness. But once you remove thought, you are no longer your name. You are no longer your body. You're no longer your reputation. You are the I. You are pure awareness, pure consciousness, pure consciousness. And this pure consciousness has latched on to this name, this job, the body, and your traumas. Your pure consciousness has attached itself to this character who you're playing in the physical world. And this is essentially who you think you are, but you are not. You are the I, you are the self, you are pure awareness. So, in order for you to detach from these things, you must learn how to detach from your name, your job, your reputation. And you do this through meditation by turning off the thinking mind. Turning off the thinking mind allows other aspects of your consciousness to open up. What do I mean? Your whole life, you've been thinking, and all of these thoughts has attached you to this physical body. You haven't allowed your consciousness to open up. And you can only do this by taking no thought. That's why Jesus tells you, take no thought. When you turn off the thinking mind, other aspects of your consciousness starts to open up. Other aspects of your being can open up. And this is how you have astral project. This is how you do all these mystical things and things to do with consciousness. It's taking no thought. Imagination, emotions, thought, and memory are all to do with consciousness. These things are not physical. You can't touch thought. You can't touch emotions. You can't touch these things because they are not a physical thing. So you must turn off these things for other aspects of your consciousness to open up. Okay. So essentially, the Bible is a metaphorical, astrological, numerological, metaphysical, spiritual, encoded text that talks about human anatomy, spirituality, and the true nature of the human experience. Everything they teach you in school is to make you think that you are this body. Everything they teach you in Church is the externalization of the true teachings of Jesus. Jesus was telling you to meditate. Jesus was telling you to practice the single eye. Jesus was telling you to look within yourself and find God. He wasn't telling you to pray to him. Mark 16:19, he was taken up to heaven and sat at the right hand of God, the right hemisphere of your brain. John 21:6, cast the net onto the right hand side of the boat and you shall find fish. Fish is understanding. The boat is your body, your brain. Cast your awareness into the right side of your brain and you will find understanding, because the right side of your brain is all to do with the creative aspect and the intuition and the spiritual sides of your consciousness. This is why God is here. This is why Michelangelo depicted God in the right hemisphere of your brain, because this is all human anatomy. And I speak about all of this in the brand new Book of Wisdom, Volume 2, which is now available. The start of the revolution has begun. This book is truly going to change the way people see the world. It's got so many new more topics than the last one. It's truly a revolution. It's written in so much detail. It's very practical. I cannot wait to share this one with you. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for me to create this book, because without you, I couldn't have created this. And I just love sharing my work with you. And I thank every single one of you for the support, the watch, like the views and the likes, everything, especially the people who have joined the university and stuff like that. And for people who have joined the university, you do get a free Book of Wisdom paperback if you just go to the general chat and follow the description, follow what the instructions that I gave you in the chat, and you'll be able to order a free Book of Wisdom if you are inside of the university. Plus, you get all of my other books, 2 books, and over 45 occult books on occult and esoteric things. You get lectures, live calls, a community, a manifestation mastery course, and a whole library and reoccurring updates every month, every week. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you all. Please leave a comment to help the algorithm, and leave a comment on what videos I should make. And yeah, I'll get to uploading on the YouTube a lot more now. The second book is now released. I have a lot more time on my hands. No longer using my energy to create the book. I'm now going to redirect this mental energy into the YouTube. So there will be a lot more content coming. So I need some content ideas. So feel free to comment some ideas, some YouTube videos that I can create. Thank you all, people. Have an amazing day.